Welcome back to another video on Football Talk. Today we are not attending a game. We're going to be doing something a bit different as we look to predict the National League South ahead of the 2023/2024 season. So let's go. Only two things I want to state is first, please don't take any offence. These are just my predictions and my opinions. I'm most likely going to be so far off by the end of the season anyway. So as I say, please don't hate me too much. I'm not disrespecting your team. It's just my opinions at this moment in time. And the second one is, feel free to leave yours in the comments. Always love to see them. Without further ado, let's get on and do this. So here we are. We've got the tier maker loaded. And if you're thinking, how am I going to go about doing this? Where do I even start with all 24 teams? I've got a sort of pre-made list. But I'm not sure how much I'm going to stick to it and how much I'm going to change my mind last minute. But obviously we're going to go from bottom to top as everyone does. My only problem is I'm just not an expert on all the teams. I know a good bit about way over half the teams in the league. I know where almost everyone finished last year, where they came from being relegated, promoted. But we're going to give it a go. And by the end of the season, I cannot wait to react to this video and see how far off I really was. So, starting off, 24th, the team that I hate doing. No one wants to have to put someone 24th and then their fans come and watch this video. But for me personally, it's got to be Dover. Why? It's a good question. I'm not going to be able to give you a why on every single team, why I've put them there. Unfortunately, as silly as that sounds. But Dover, for me personally, it's just been a bit of a the season last season was a bit of a shamble, and then the summer for them has also been even worse. Confirming that players are joining the club, and then 2 weeks later, these same players are have announced themselves at other club. Assistant manager Ricky Holmes then went off to Farnborough. It just, honestly, if you get a chance to look up the story, it all looks a bit messy. They only just scraped surviving this league on the last day of the season last year. And I just think it's very, very possible that their time may come. So they're 24th for me. Very, very sorry, Dover fans. Next up, after that, we are going for Truro. Truro City. And now I hope no one thinks that there's a theme going on with, right, let's just pick the two teams that are furthest apart from each other, most travelling, and put them in the bottom. It's not because of that. It's just Truro certainly have one of the lower budgets in the league. They weren't one of the teams that automatically qualified from the league below. They had to do it the tough way, which is the playoff way, which I'm not saying makes a difference. But I just think Truro are going to struggle. They're still not even playing at their home ground. They are currently ground sharing with Plymouth Parkway. I think it's going to be a real dirge for them this season. And if they survive, I will be really shocked. I will be really shocked. As I say, I love our underdog story, though. I'll be more than happy for any of these two to go and prove me wrong. Anyway, next up, we have in 22nd... the third of the relegated sides. I'm going Weston-super-Mare. Weston-super-Mare were the team that automatically qualified from the same league as Truro, the Southern Premier League South Division. I think they are going to have a pretty tough season. Haven't been in the National League South for a while. They got promoted automatically and quite comfortably, to be fair to them. I have also had a chance to watch them in pre-season. I watched them play Dorchester Town. And I think the most disappointing thing was, even though it's pre-season, I'm never ever going to go off pre-season, but there just certainly wasn't enough of a wow factor from the players for me. There wasn't anything special there. And I think whenever you get promoted, I mean, there's a couple of teams last year that came up, your Cheshunt's and teams like that. Cheshunt, what am I on about? Who came up and really struggled. And I certainly think those two are, they're gonna struggle a bit this year for me personally. Next up, now this is where it's really tough. This is where it gets really, really tough for me. I do not know who to put of that fourth relegated side. I'm happy to say the three contenders I've got. I've got Weymouth, Slough and Aveley. Really, really tough to decide. Slough just haven't had a good season for a while now. Aveley are the other newly promoted side. Quite a small budget, even though their ground and everything they're creating in that club looks fantastic. I'm so impressed for the Essex side. And Weymouth, on the other hand, they were so poor to start the season last year. How they survived is beyond me. I just do not get how they did it. It really was the great escape last year for Weymouth. I was so impressed. They have made a few signings. I just think Slough will survive. It's out of Aveley and Weymouth. I feel incredibly harsh if I put all the newly promoted sides in the relegation. So for that reason, I will go for Weymouth. Weymouth are local to me, and personally, I do hope they don't go down. Just as I say, I'm a Dartford fan. They're local for me. It means I can get to another game. So I hope they don't go down. So I hope anyone doesn't think that I'm disrespecting Weymouth. But I think it's going to be a struggle, and I think they definitely should have gone down last year. The survival was fantastic, so impressed. But yeah, their season, they may just run out of luck this season. So that obviously means that Aveley, I'm going to go as the team that just about survive. I think they're going to be the 20th place team. And then obviously I've got to stick with my three, and I will put Slough up in the 19th position. Aveley coming up, I think surviving would be a great start, just managing to stay in the league. I have seen a few of their signings. They actually look like they've got a few great signings. And I watched a video from Location Football showing off the club and the stadium, the ground. It just looks all so fantastically run around there. And Slough Town, another season at Arbour Park. Can they do it? I just think they might survive. So, moving into those, just survive it, surviving comfortably almost, the 17th and 18th. I've gone Hampton and Richmond as to finish the 18th. They've got it's all a bit crazy. They've got lots of groundworks going on. They're getting their stadium redone. I have seen a few signings. I'm sure they'll have a fairly decent season. I'm sure they will survive. Maybe they will finish a bit higher than this in those mid-table spots. But it just gets really tight for me the further it goes up. So that's why I've put them there. And then Hemel and Hempstead I've put in 17th. They've got new boys to the league, Yeovil Town, first day of season. They've just never really impressed me. I've watched Hemel a couple of times, and I would just be extremely surprised if they, exceed my expectations. I don't expect anything more than a mid-table finish from them. But as I say, happy for teams to prove me wrong and they go and smash the league and get playoffs. Don't think it's going to happen though. Next up in 16th, so coming to our mid-table, I've put Taunton Town in 16th. They came up last year and actually had a really, really good first season. I've put Chelmsford there, didn't mean that. There's Taunton, just same colour logos. They had a really good season. They came up and did fantastically well. I was so surprised. And I think a team like Taunton, now that they have been in the league and they found their feet, I just think they'll go on to have another mid-table season and just sort of be steady horses of the league, cause a few upsets here and there. And yeah, just comfortably survive. They have lost a couple of good players. I think they lost one or two of their centre-backs in Wano and someone else last year. So I just think 16th is a very fair position for Taunton. And then obviously got Welling United is who I'm going for in 15th place, if I can get in front of Taunton there. Just didn't have a great season last year. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of Welling being a Dartford fan, but nonetheless, they just underperformed really poorly last season. I think they were in or around the position I've put them in last season, and I just can't see anything crazy changing ahead of this year, if being completely honest. Very sorry to all you fans out there of Welling. Then we've got our 13th place. where we are 13th. We've got 16th, 15th, 14th, sorry. I've gone for Chippenham Town. Chippenham really impressed me last year. I did actually go watch Chippenham last season against Dartford. They managed to sneak, it was horrendous, a 90th plus something minute free kick winner over us, which was absolutely heartbreaking. Chippenham, another one of the south sides in the league, southwest side should I say. Just one of those teams. They were in Southern Prem as well not too long ago, but they've come up and proved a lot of people wrong. At the start of the season, it definitely looked like they were creeping towards relegation. But it turns out they were just so many games behind. They ended up having a fantastic cup run. Showed a lot of flair. And I think mid-table's a very, very, very fair prediction for Chippenham Town. 13th, I've gone Bath. I was actually very tempted to put Bath a lot lower after watching them play Shaftesbury in pre-season, where they played two different squads and just 0-0 draw against a side, I think 3 divisions below them. It was just really poor to watch. But this other side had already played a couple of pre-season games. It was Bath's first pre-season. You're not going to go nuts. It was on 3G. I think I was being incredibly harsh. So I did put Bath 13th. They've had, since being in the league, they've been in the league for a long time now. And they've had times where they finished just above relegation. In the playoffs. They've always just been a really, really good outfit in the league. But Scott Wilson, they need him to get bagging goals next year. He finished on a really good amount of goals last year. He's definitely one of their key players. So I just think 13th's fair. I can't say much more than that. I just think 13th's fair. So moving into 12th, the top half. Let's do it. Playoff contenders, as this site has called it. Thank you to whoever made this tier. Make a big shout out to you. I've gone Farnborough in 12th. Farnborough really, really impressed me. As you can see, only founded in 2007. I did watch someone who did a bit of a Forgotten Borough episode for them. Sorry if I can't remember the name. But they were another side. They beat Dartford as well, 3-1. Everyone beat Dartford. Dartford just lost wherever they went away last year. But anyway, as I said earlier, they got Ricky Holmes as assistant manager. They seem to have a fairly big budget. From what I've read, if I've got that wrong, please correct me in the comments below, but they seem to have a pretty good budget. The stadium's fantastic. It's got a capacity of sort of 7,000-8,000. It's ridiculous size for the league, really. I just think they'll have a good season. They had a really good backline from when I watched last time. Weren't easy to break down. I just think 12th, bang on mid-table, is quite fair, Farnborough, but I could see them finishing higher. I really, really, really could see them finishing higher as well. But obviously that's all to be told. And then 11th place, we've gone Tonbridge. I just think they're going to have a very mid-table season. I think they'll do all right. We've then got in 10th place. I'm just trying to whip through it to not, drag this on too much. I've gone Braintree Town. Braintree Town definitely had another great season last year. Very impressed, making playoffs again, losing straight away to Worthing, of course, in that quarter-final. Lost a couple of their good players. Is it Alton Top who's come to Dartford, and he was one of their best players, voted in the fans sort of team of the season. I just think Braintree Town somehow managed to sneak into that playoffs almost last year. Do I think they'll do it again with the likes of Worthing looking so good, Eastbourne looking so good, Chelmsford, and then Yeovil, Maidstone and Torquay coming down? I can't see it personally. But in 9th, so we got 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, sorry, we've got Havant and Waterlooville. I'm actually going to change this. I'm about to go against what I said. I'm going to put Havant and Waterlooville 10th and Braintree 9th. Havant were just so poor the second half of last season. They started off so well. At one point, the top 3, it was just Ebbsfleet, Dartford, Havant. And at one point, it was just got to the point where it was just Havant and Ebbsfleet. But they fell so badly off the bandwagon. It was ridiculous. They have some really good players too. Last season, Fowl was on form. They just had some really, really good players. But the second half of the season was just woeful, and it being the second half season, that's what's made me just put them back one place. So Havant 10th, Braintree 9th, and then I'm going for the Playoff South semi-finalist, St Albans 8th. Very harsh, St Albans fans are going to think, and I do understand. I definitely think St Albans have lost a couple of their good players already. Can't remember his name, but the fullback that was fantastic. He was such a good player. Has just signed for newly promoted Oxford, which is understandable. You get a call to go up a league when you're playing National League South. You take it. You take it. I do think they have a good season again. They always are in and around there, the playoffs or the playoff contenders. But I just think this season is going to be one of the toughest National League South seasons we have had in a very long time. And that's why I've decided to put St Albans at the top. Whereas at 8th, whereas last season you had Ebbsfleet, who were just absolutely walking the league. I don't think you're going to get that this season, because I think there's going to be lots and lots of strong contenders. So, yeah, 8th for St Albans. But anyway, let's get us moving on. In 7th place, this is where it got so tough for me to start deciding where these all go without being too biased to Dartford. 7th place, I've gone Worthing. Do I think they can keep up their fairy tale story of getting promoted and having such a good season like they did? I'm not sure, but to be on the safe side, I wanted to put them in the playoff position, because I think that's the sort of their definite aim is to make the playoffs again. So I've put them in 7th. And then in 6th, I have gone with Eastbourne Borough. Eastbourne purely because they've had the new owners. Loads of new players come in. I mean, the new owners, they're just looking fantastic. They've come in, completely revamped the club. They've got the new logo, the kits. Oh, if you get a chance to look at the kits for Eastbourne look phenomenal. If I wasn't a National League South fan already for Dartford, and I was looking to buy a kit for a completely another league, those kits are just gorgeous. But new owners, they had a pretty decent season last year anyway. They were so close to making the playoffs. This year, I can't see them making the same mistake. I think playoffs will be the bare minimum for Eastbourne this season. And I think it'll definitely be a big letdown for them if they don't make the playoffs. So we've done 6th, we've done 7th, we've done 7th, 6th. Now we've got 5th and 4th. Now, to be honest with you, I still don't know what I'm going to go. I've got Chelmsford and Dartford coming in at 4th and 5th. Who am I putting where? Well, a bit of bias is probably kicking in, because I'm going to go Chelmsford 5th. Chelmsford have made a really good few signings. They've definitely got a bigger budget than I think a lot of people expected this season. They definitely took Dartford's best player technically in Samir Carruthers. I did see they had a pretty poor start to pre-season, but I just don't want to go off pre-season too much, because it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, especially in the National League South, where teams are still trying to find who their team is. They're making signings, all the way through the season, so nothing's ever set in stone. But Chelmsford, I expect them to have a good season. I definitely expect them to make playoffs. But that does give me room to just squeeze Dartford in 4th place, which means they will get a quarter-final home draw in the playoff quarter-finals against Eastbourne by the looks of it. So there you go. Dartford were really unfortunate, losing Samir Carruthers. Captain Tom Bonner retired. The other centre-back, Connor Essam, decided to sort of give up the football and go more local and play for Faversham. So Dartford have had a few really, really big outs. Surprised me in the pre-season game against Charlton, only losing 2-1. And it just wasn't looking very good. But then Harvey Bradbury, who came along, signed and stayed. And Alex Wall, Golden Boot winner, stayed. We got a couple of centre-backs, new keeper. We've made a really, really good amount of signings. And it wouldn't be a National League South season if Dartford weren't in the playoffs. It just wouldn't. Dartford are the kings of making the playoffs and then bottling it when they get there. Always away, always will be, but I still love you, Darts. I still love you. So that leaves me with the final 3, Yeovil, Torquay and Maidstone. I know what you're thinking. Well, this is a bit rubbish because all you've done is kept the newly relegated sides at the top. But for me personally, the first one I'm just going to get out of the way is Maidstone in 3rd place. Why? Because I think Torquay and Yeovil are 2 sides that are Football League standard stadiums and budgets and everything else, managers, coaches. They're just 2 teams, especially Yeovil, who were in the Championship 10 years ago. They're 2 teams that I certainly do think should be playing in the National League personally. And I think Maidstone were just so poor in the National League last year, finishing rock bottom, that I think they are they're like an Ebbsfleet. They come up, go down, come up, go down. And I just think Maidstone United will definitely be in the playoffs, but I just think teams are going to really struggle to compete with Yeovil and Torquay, especially Yeovil, whose budget looks to be, 3-4 times the size of some of the clubs in this league. It's almost ridiculous, the budget they've got. So that being said, you're probably thinking I'm going to put Yeovil at top of the league. I'm not. I'm going controversial. The 2 southwest sides battling it out for the top spot. I'm going to go Yeovil Town in 2nd place, and that means Torquay will be the champions of the league. Really, really difficult call to make. I could just see this going so wrong. I really can. I could just see this being completely different to what I've predicted. But I'm going for it anyway. Yeovil in 2nd place. Phenomenal budget. Couple of players on loan from Bristol City look really good. They've managed to get Reece Murphy back, who was at the club years ago and was a fantastic player. They've got a couple of players from Southend. They got Frank Noble, which is a brilliant signing. They just look really good, and they've even managed to keep captain Josh Staunton. But Torquay under Gary Johnson, I just think they're going to be experts in this league almost. I think they're just going to know how to manoeuvre their way around the league. And I just wouldn't be surprised if they win it. I really wouldn't. But that being said, I hope everyone knows, if you're a Yeovil fan, it wouldn't surprise me if Yeovil won it. It wouldn't surprise me if Torquay won it. But I certainly think it's going to be one of those 3, with possible surprise from Dartford or Chelmsford or Eastbourne. But I just really think it'll be one of the Torquay or Yeovils that will win the league this year. But it's just going to be... I'm just clueless. I just think the season, for me personally, is lining up to be one of the best ones in a while. I'm just so excited for it. So I was rambling, lost the plot, but there you go. There is my National League South 2023/24 predictions. Let me know your predictions down below. And as I say, please don't hate me too much. These are just predictions. They don't mean they'll happen. That doesn't mean they'll happen. Just predictions. So let me know in the comments who you think will finish where, or just let me know where you think your team will finish. And in about 9 months' time, we will get the answers. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to like, subscribe, and until the next one, I'll see you all around. Bye for now.